We'll call this meeting, regular meeting of the New Ulm Economic Development Authority for Tuesday, July 11th, 2017 to order. Would you just do a roll call, Heather?
Sure. Commissioner Young? Here. Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Brum?
Here.
And Vice President Fix.
Here. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the regular EDA meeting held on June 13th, 2017, and special meeting on June 27th, 2017.
I'll offer a motion to approve both minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is from the New Ulm Economic Development Corporation Coordinator regarding activities during the month of June 2017.
Brian Toll, New Ulm Economic Development Corporation. You have my report in your packet. I'd like to point out a couple of things. First, a very positive thing. We're getting a shoe store called Shoe Sensation in the strip mall that's near the Walmart building. So that's a very positive thing. And then something maybe a little less positive, maybe not negative, but there had been an individual from Des Moines, a developer called Hurd Development, Richard Hurd, and he had expressed interest in the Target building, but that has since backed off.
Do we know why?
He indicated that his client that had expressed interest in the building had backed off, so he's client-driven. He's not a speculator.
Okay.
Any questions?
Can you spend a little bit more time on the startup of the daycare facility with Spexis?
Yeah. An official from Spexis indicated that she wanted to start a daycare separate from Spexis, not just for Spexis employees, but a center that would be available for anyone who needed care. She understood the need, experiencing difficulty in hiring people because of daycare. So she's exploring the possibility of starting a daycare center.
So it was not at their location, not at the Spexis location?
No.
Okay.
No, she's looking at available buildings in town.
Okay. Excellent.
And daycare for children?
Yes.
Okay.
We need them.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll offer a motion to approve the coordinator's report.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is from the EDA staff regarding administrative activities during the month of June 2017. Heather?
All right, good morning. We'll start with the Section 8 report. Note, we had 97 vouchers on the program for the month of June. Housing assistance payments, disbursements from HUD exceeded payments to landlords by just over $1,000. And administrative fee disbursements exceeded expenses by about $1,500. Note on pages 3 and 4 of your report, the unaudited balance as of June 30th. Note on page 5, we had 94 vouchers on the program as of July 1st with a waiting list of 67. And because we did lose some families off the program, we were able to issue 2 new vouchers during the month of June. One did go to a household that was staying at the New Moss House shelter, and it's my understanding they have secured an apartment for August 1st. So that's good news. Moving on to the public housing program. Note, as of June 30th, expenditures have exceeded revenues by about $14,500, and that is the end of our fiscal year. So we did end the fiscal year with a small deficit. Broadway House has 1 vacancy with 38 on the waiting list, and the family units are fully leased with 17 on the waiting list. The vacancy at Broadway House is a 2-bedroom, and we are having difficulty finding a household that qualifies for a 2-bedroom to fill that unit. So we're working on that, but it may be open for a while until we find a household for that unit. Moving on to the EDA program on page 10 of your report, note cash assets of just under $85,000. We have signed a purchase agreement for the 20 acres in the Milford Heights subdivision, and that sale is pending. Minnesota Housing Partnership has scheduled a site visit for July 27th for starting on the Strengthening Rural Communities program technical assistance that we've received. They also notified me they're applying for a USDA Rural Development RCDI grant. If they receive the grant, because we're already receiving technical assistance, they indicated that we would have the opportunity to participate in the upcoming Greater Minnesota Housing Institute, and I did include an attachment to give you more information on that. If you note in there, a lot of that assistance has been utilized in northern Minnesota, so they were excited to have the opportunity to use that in southern Minnesota with us if they do receive the grant. So I'll keep you posted on what they find out about that. I think the grant application was July 25th, and then I don't know the timeline as far as when they'll find out. But when I hear something, I'll let you know. So that's exciting. That's an 18-month program where community stake leaders meet, it looks like on a monthly basis. So it's a long-term program to develop housing in your community. Moving on to the Property Rehabilitation Loan Program on page 11 of your report, we have available funds of just under $260,000. There was no new activity during the month of June. Moving on to page 12, rental property report, cash assets of just under $75,000 there, and finishing off with the Garden Terrace report on pages 13 and 14. Garden Terrace has 87 units leased with 74 on the waiting list. Currently have 1 vacancy over there. They had a turnover last month, and they have received a move-out notice for August. We have been working on taking quotes to replace the fire alarm panels in both buildings, and Gopher Alarms was the low bidder. This was a capital fund project we budgeted for in the 2017 budget. We budgeted $20,000 for this project, and it looks like the project will cost about $15,000, so came in a little under budget, which is always good news. Any questions?
Hearing none.
I'll offer a motion to approve.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion is carried.
Madam Chairman, may I recommend that we just maybe look at item 7A? We do have an individual here that probably wants to get off to work, so if we could jump ahead and eliminate that item, that would be
We can
probably in
certainly
his
do
best
that.
interest.
All right, let's go to item 7A, which is consider amendment to purchase agreement for Lot 1, Block 2, 5th North Street, First Edition.
All right, as I mentioned, we did sign a purchase agreement for this property. The purchase agreement had a closing date on or before July 15th, which would be this Saturday. We were contacted by the buyer that they would like to push that closing date out to honor before August 15th. The buyer is here today, and I understand things may have changed.
Yeah, good morning. We're trying to get title work today, working with the attorney to see if we can close yet this week. The addendum is kind of just to protect us in case we can't get the title work done by Friday, because that's what the agreement was set on, or Saturday. So I'm waiting for an email or a phone call as we speak to see if we can make it. But I think if we sign it that'll just give us a couple more days. We definitely would be able to go into closing next week. When we asked for the addendum, we were looking to push back for some time to get through the platting. You know, we weren't sure on the process. We had a meeting yesterday, but we need to move quickly. So the sooner the land's in our hands, the sooner we can file get the preliminary plats and stuff going. This is kind of taken off a little quicker than we thought. We're getting commitments on units already. I'm thinking by spring we'll probably have 6 to 7 units up already. So we need to, move as quick as we can. So that addendum is just to give us a couple more days in case we can't get the title work done.
And for our records, we have to have your name.
Al Paler.
Oh, thank you.
So we can still close on or before August 15th.
Yeah, we're thinking it possibly could be Friday. Otherwise, it'd maybe be early next week. But if we didn't close on time, then we'd have to redo paperwork and have another meeting.
And we don't have a copy of this purchase agreement as an attachment.
No, I usually don't.
I don't know
Do
if I
that.
can approve a motion without seeing the
Yeah,
purchase.
the only thing changing would just be the closing.
The date, yeah.
Right.
And I think we previously had that with the last, when it was originally for the special meeting. And-
I usually don't include the purchase agreement as an attachment. I never have on a sale, whether it's been a house sale or a lot sale.
Okay.
Just never have.
This wouldn't, either way, if it's next week, say, it's always on or before, so it sounds like it's definitely would be before August 15th. So, there's really no harm in moving forward with this at this point, that's the way I read it anyway.
I read the same way, that it's on or before, so it could be tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to offer the motion.
And I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The motion is carried.
So associated with that will be an addendum that'll come literally at the end of the meeting today, which would be to authorize the executive director, myself, of the EDA, to sign documents to initiate the rezoning that they're requesting. If you don't own the property, you can't sign the paperwork. And so in order to not, let's say, throw a 30-day delay into it, because the planning commission only meets, once a month, that we try and get it in on this next planning commission. So we'll address that afterwards, but that's something that we discussed yesterday to keep everything going as fast as it can, so that they can get infrastructure in the ground and start building the homes.
All right.
So, but we'll do that at the very end.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll go back to 5A. To consider a resolution certifying the Section 8 Management Assessment Program report for Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Heather?
All right, this is a report that's required every other year. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, requires us to complete an assessment of our Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. And that report is called CMAP for short, Section 8 Management Assessment Program. The Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program is a nationwide program, and the report is intended to evaluate how housing authorities are managing their program. Through the assessment process, HUD identifies projects or agencies that may require additional oversight. This will be our 8th time submitting this report to HUD, and it must be electronically submitted to HUD no later than August 29th. I've attached the report so you can see what they're looking at. They're looking at our waiting list selection, making sure we're checking to make sure the rents landlords are charging are considered rent reasonable, utility allowance schedule that's being updated every year, those sorts of things. Any questions on anything there?
Looks like it's a very exciting report to fill out.
It's really jazzy.
Yeah, I got jazzed up reading that, so. So I'm going to offer a resolution, waive the reading to approve this report.
I will second.
Would you call the roll, please?
All right, Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
and Vice President Fix.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on. 6A, consider awarding bid for the Broadway House surveillance camera system.
Right, we talked about this project and we were authorized to move forward with soliciting bids at the May 9th regular meeting. Bids were solicited from 7 vendors and 3 bids were received. As you can see, we received a bid from Poppy Companies, ProTech Design, and SPC Companies. Broadway House does not have an existing surveillance camera system, so this will be an entirely new system, including all of the wiring that's involved with that. The proposed system includes 25 interior cameras and 5 exterior cameras, and includes a 30-day retention period where we're able to go back and review footage if we need to. We'll have the ability to access the system remotely with our smartphones. So that's nice. I didn't even know that was possible. I thought I'd have to be on my computer here at work. So that way if I'm at home on a weekend or evening and something happens and I want to go look, I can do that from home or elsewhere. This is something that we've been talking with the tenants about for several years, and the tenants and the staff are strongly in favor of adding a surveillance system for added security in the building. Most public housing agencies in our region already have camera systems, or if they don't, they are in the process of installing them. There's just been I think an uptick in issues in public housing as we've had more of the younger disabled tenants moving in. When I started here 8 years ago, Broadway House was very quiet, mostly elderly. We just didn't have a lot of issues, but the demographics in our building have changed over the years. And due to a variety of factors, I think older people are staying in their homes longer and that sort of thing. So we are hopeful that we'll be able to get this system installed. It'll be a useful tool, I think, for staff to manage the building. We did estimate budget for the project at $15,000. You can see we were off. It's coming in a little over double that. And also note that if we do move forward with the project, we will need to make an initial payment of 50% of the contract amount to get started, and then we'll make the final 50% payment after project completion. I will note SPC Companies has worked with the city before. Park and Rec has worked with them, so I talked with Tom Schmitz, and he didn't have any issues with them. They are the low bidder at $33,815.
Is there a time frame for the project completion?
I think 30 days. They are working with a local electrician to wire the building, full service electric. Staff there is very familiar with our building, so they'll be doing the wiring for SPC.
I'm having trouble with this particular proposal, and I'm not sure I can support it for several reasons. One, we budgeted $15,000. The lowest bid is more than double that. 5 cameras on the outside of the building. 5. We have 1 secure entrance, right? Where are the other 4 going?
Well, we have 4 entrances to the building, so I wanted a
One
camera.
secure entrance, right? Most people come through the front door.
Yeah, all the entrances are locked. There's a key fob system on each entry door, so tenants can come in any of the 4 entrance doors.
Each of these 5 cameras outside are protecting a
4
a
would be
door
for
of some
those
sort.
doors, and also giving us view of the outside and parking lot area. And then the 5th camera is up on the 4th floor deck, where we have some outdoor space. The rest are in the community room, laundry room, hallways. We have a porch on 3rd floor, so we'd have one in
But
that
I would
area.
guess, and I could be wrong, but most problems probably happen on the secure entrance coming into the building, elevator area probably, right, wrong?
Well, we've had issues in the community room and the laundry room. We have tenants complaining that they think someone's knocking on their door at 3 in the morning, and so I would say the problem calls we get really have been throughout the building.
Are the other buildings, do they have security on as well? Like Broadway, or like Garden Terrace?
We have not put cameras in Garden Terrace yet. It's not to say we wouldn't consider that in the future.
Mhm.
I think any large building really should have some kind of a system for surveillance.
Yeah, I'm certainly not saying I don't support any camera system. I'm just not going to support this extensive cost, the number of cameras. I wonder if there's a way they can cut back on some of these areas. I mean, we don't, it's not like we have law enforcement rushing in there every day, or we probably never have, or very little. It just seems a little bit overboard to me.
Just a question too, with buildings that have security systems such as this, do you see any reduction in like liability insurance coverage rates?
I checked with State Farm on that, and there is no discount for camera system. I was surprised. I thought maybe there would be, but they don't offer that.
Okay, so I mean, there's no obvious
Cost savings.
cost savings from that, but at the same point, I would think that it would seem to be prudent to stave off any potential liability that could result if an incident would occur, being that this facility is owned by the EDA. And I don't know if, when this was bid out, do we look at a plain option, a middle-of-the-road option, and a Cadillac option? I mean, or is this just this
No.
one proposal?
No, I kind of went through the building and made a list of where I thought we would want cameras, and it may seem, 30 cameras may seem like overkill, but in talking with other housing authorities that maybe started with 10 cameras, they've added over the years because they've found there were spots that they wanted cameras, so they've been adding more. So I just thought, well, if we're going to do it, let's just do it in one shot and be done.
And I would imagine to add them later would actually be more expensive than doing it all initially.
I think because you're having the labor to bring people back, and so, I mean, this is what I'm proposing, this is what I would like to do, but it's up to you what you're going to authorize, so.
Yeah, it's the one spot you don't
I
have a
think this will be a
camera.
good system and give us good coverage that we won't have to come back. I mean, we're covering our entire building, so.
Yeah, I imagine it's never gonna get any cheaper.
Although this did come in over budget, I'll note the roof project came in significantly under budget, so, and we are using capital funds. So I thought our capital funds were going to be completely depleted with the roof project, and we are not going to be out of capital funds. In fact, we're just getting another grant on this agenda for 2017. So we will have capital fund money remaining for upcoming projects.
How long do they guarantee the cameras for?
I know that's in there, but I can't recall.
Some of the park and rec cameras are
I think
being
it's more than a
replaced right now
year.
that are in like the Civic Center and the different
Mhm.
locations, and so, 15,
Yeah.
16
I know some are
years.
moving to the digital,
Yeah.
cameras and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Matter of fact,
I'm sure there'll
probably
be some-
today's cameras are gonna last longer than 15 years ago, to be quite honest. Yeah, I think the funds are there. The estimate was an estimate, didn't really have the full scope probably laid out at the time. We, in likelihood, just talked to, Park and Rec on what their system cost. So I guess I'm not too concerned about the estimated budget being, 15 instead of 33. We've got the funds. It's not that's a problem. And then on top of that, the residents are asking for it. They're the ones asking for this.
With this system that you propose too, we would never have to come back and add more, from the sounds of it.
I don't see where I could add more because I can't put them in the bathrooms. I can't put them in the apartments. I mean, this is covering all of our common areas, our stairwells, everywhere that's a common area that, we would want to be able to see.
And you really won't be monitoring them unless you get a complaint.
Right.
Right.
I'm not going to be sitting there watching watching the cameras, but if I get a complaint, I can go back and review.
Right.
Because right now it's so hard because it's he said, she said. It's one person's word over another, and you just really don't know. And the camera will be helpful for us to weed through what happened and who done it.
Doesn't give you any audio, though. It's only going to give you the visual. But we have these kind of systems at our detox facilities. And you're right, we are always adding and upgrading down there because just the way technology changes. But I don't know, it just seems like a lot.
This will be definitely a robust system,
With the tenants knowing that this is coming, will that help having this in place to alleviate some of the
It'll be interesting to
issues?
see. You would think, because they know there's cameras, that they would be cognizant of that, but it's hard to say because people that maybe have mental health issues, it probably won't matter in some cases, but
I think
Or if
most-
alcohol or.
Most banks have a system, and still people go in and try and rob the bank.
That's a bank.
Yeah, there's literally there's video all over the place. So you go to the metro areas, the sidewalks, in front of businesses, most of them have, cameras and they're monitoring it. Where this will come in, I think, handy is, one, the little stuff people may resist doing some activities, but then secondly, if something serious were to happen, the police department then has access to watching people come in a door, watching them go down the hallway. We've had situations in the past where the police department has come and say, can we get the video? Something happened last night. Can we get the video from that location? So for serious things, it's a tool to be used, and it might keep down the smaller knocking on the door at 3 in the morning kind of stuff, just the more light harassment kind of stuff.
I'll offer the motion to approve the awarding the bid.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion is carried. Moving on to item 6B, consider awarding the bid for the Broadway House re-roofing project.
Okay, this project was approved in May. Bids were received and submitted to the board at the June meeting, and the decision was made to reject the bids. If you recall, there was a small roof that had been missed in the original scope of the project, and to avoid complications, we rejected the bids, added the additional roof, and went out for new bids. Ironically, adding the roof and retaking bids, the bids actually came in the same or lower than the first
Sometimes that
round.
happens,
So
yeah.
they sharpened their pencils, it appears. GOG Sheet Metal was the low bidder on this project at $49,600. I'll just note the current roof was installed in 1997, so it is 20 years old, which is about the age of a rubber membrane roof. So it is at the end of life. We have been repairing leaks for the past 5 years or so. So it's the opinion of the building inspector that it's time for a full replacement. We budgeted, I believe, $150,000 for this project, but it is coming in significantly lower, and the reason for that is we are able to reuse a lot of the materials, insulation and flashing and that sort of thing. So that helped a lot on the cost of the project.
I'll offer a motion to approve the low bid of COG sheet metal amount of $49,600.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion's carried. Let's go on to item number 6C. Consider a resolution accepting the 2017 Capital Fund Program grant award and approve for submittal to the HUD the 2017 CFP Amendment.
All right, so we were just notified of our 2017 Capital Fund Grant Award, as you can see, in the amount of $61,337. So there's some paperwork we need to authorize Brian to sign and submit to HUD if we are accepting that grant award. And then at this time, we usually kind of outline some upcoming projects that we may want to use these funds for. You'll note on here the EDA has discretion to add, delete, or change any of these project recommendations. This is not setting anything in stone. This is just, I kind of keep a running list of projects we may want to do. And one thing I've been considering is upgrading the Broadway House, converting that over to LED lighting in the common areas. Included with that, I would be adding timers to the lights in the public bathrooms, the stairwells, so they'd be more motion detector. So if no one's in the stairwell, there's no reason to have the light on 24/7. Just have it come on if someone's in there, and then after a period of time, go back off. So that should result in some utility savings, both with the LED conversion and then with not having lights on all the time. Another project I'd like to look at is upgrading the landscaping at our scattered site family unit houses. Those shrubs and things that were planted years ago are getting overgrown, and it might be time to look at redoing that. So that would be a smaller, a smaller project. Any questions?
I do like the fact that you've got the automatic motion lights that go on. That's just a saver.
Yeah,
That's just really good.
yeah. I think we're wasting a lot of electricity just having them on all the time. Most people are using the elevator. There are people that use the stairwells, but it's, they're usually not being used, so it's a waste.
I'm going to offer a resolution to waive the reading to accept the grant award amount of $61,337 and approve for submittal to HUD the 2017 amendment.
I'll second.
Heather, would you call the roll, please?
All right, Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
missed you, and Vice President Fix.
Yes. Motion is carried. Moving on, 6D, we've got the public housing claim. Consider a motion authorizing payment of the public housing program claims.
Anything stand out on that we need to
To take a peek at it.
know about?
I think it was just a kind of status quo month. I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary.
I didn't really see anything, but
I mean, I'll just note we did seal the decks. We installed new decks at the two single-family units a year or two ago, and so you wait a little while, let the wood get weathered, and then we did seal them with a clear sealer to kind of protect the wood.
I'll offer the motion authorizing payments of public housing claims.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. And let's move to 7B, which is not on the agenda,
All
the
right,
addendum.
We would need a motion to suspend the rules to address the addendum.
I'll offer a motion to suspend the rules to address the addendum.
I'll second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried.
All right, given the timeline that the developer, construction on the housing project that we talked about earlier, is occurring in, there are some things that have to get signed to get initiated and get through the planning commission aspect of it, particularly like rezoning and things of that nature. The property owner is required to sign those documents, and until the closing on the property occurs, the EDA is still the property owner. So in order to help facilitate the project, to speed it up rather than wait another month and then go through the process, the developer had asked if the EDA would authorize the executive director of the EDA, myself, to initiate and sign those documents so they can start the rezoning aspect of it through the planning commission.
So
We
what was-
can
oh.
also probably try and get a special planning commission meeting to speed this thing up, also. I mean, it's a tight timeline. You're talking about, getting water, sewer in the streets and 6 homes constructed by next spring. So, the whole concept is, what can we do to help? This is one of those things we can do to help.
Okay.
Do you need the authorization to sign which specific documents, or do you want us just to bundle it into a?
Just the rezoning, David? Yeah, just the rezoning application, paperwork for the planning commission to address that at their next meeting.
So the plat itself would be available after the closing, so there would be no need for you to sign, like, the plat itself? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So let me take a shot at all for a motion to authorize the executive director of the EDA to sign purchase.
Rezoning
Documents.
that will go to the planning commission.
How's that?
I would, just specifically related to the pending sale of
Of
Milford
this
Heights.
Property.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll add that.
I'll second.
Oh, great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And all in,
Opposed.
if not opposed, nay.
One of those brain.
Hearing none, our motion is carried. Hearing no further business, we are going to adjourn this meeting.